Coach, same question I asked Mike Reed. You've got some functional quality depth back there this year. What are your thoughts on the depth situation that you have?
I love the experience that we had. Last year coming into this thing, basically replacing the whole back seven. Now we've got a lot of returners, from the linebacker position to the safety position to the corner position. That experience is key when it comes to playing defense. Understanding formations, understanding the calls, where my alignment is, and what to do. Makes a huge difference in the grand scheme of things defensively. We've got that, so I'm excited about the experience. Then I'm excited about the younger players that we got behind them that we're building depth with, that can really play as well. That can add to that depth, because a 15-game season, that's a long season. We got to have everybody growing and getting better every week. But having it to start with it's a big deal.
Do you feel like you've got 3 or 4 starters back there with Coop, Mickens, Tyler, and Jalen?
Absolutely. All of them have started, and all of them will start. It's they're iron sharpens iron. So what we do in practice and what they do in the game will dictate their playing time. And these guys understand that the guy right behind them, can take their spot real quick. So, with that being said, these guys also are extremely good team players, and they're going to pull for each other. And as we build that depth and build that starting unit.
How do you get Sherrod Coble more into the mix?
He's going to fit right in. The biggest thing with him was really just learning the defense. Extremely athletic, can run, he's physical, can hit. So, he's going to play a lot this year. He's earned it with what he's done in the spring, and then what he's done this summer in the weight room, getting his body right. So he's going to help us.
What about Khalil Barnes? What did you see out of him?
Same thing you saw. He was amazing in the spring. I saw a playmaker. If you go back and you watch that spring game, he had a huge PBU, huge hit, and then a game-winning interception, to win the game. So I see the sky's the limit for him. High school, he played both ways, but mostly was just used to play man-to-man on the best wide receiver that the other team had. So for me coming in, it was, okay, can he understand defense, understand scheme and how it works? And the answer to that is yes. He was coached very well by Tyler Arndt at North Oconee, and he came right in. He was ready to play. I think the thing I like about Khalil is his eagerness to learn. Just getting in the film room and really learning the defense and what to do. But he can run, change direction, and he's physical. He's 200-pound safety. They can play the nickel safety. He can do a lot.
How big is it going to be for Andrew this year to just focus on being a safety?
I think it's going to be great for Andrew. I think we probably put too much on him last year. Not to mention he just dealt with injury after injury. Had an awkward fall in a scout team drill where he dislocated his elbow and had to wear that elbow guard, that elbow brace the whole season. When you're trying to play man-to-man on guys, that's a big hindrance. And I think it affected his confidence. And then coming back into spring, playing one position mainly really helped him to focus in on that, what to do, and the ins and outs of that position. I think it's going to be big to answer your question.
Jalen's a guy that really a lot of people didn't know about heading into last year. What do you see is the big key for him to take another step forward this year?
Steady wins the race. That's kind of been Jalen's story, and he is a true Clemson man. And in this crazy world, college football world that we live in, this kid is about the right stuff. And really his first year, he started some games the year before, but really his first year to be the guy. And I think his confidence level and experience level is really going to shine. He's going to have a big year, a breakout year this year, just because of who he is and the work ethic and the experience that he's had going into this season. I'm excited for him.
I'm sorry. Kind of like that with RJ. A guy who probably, if he's anywhere else, he's starting, maybe All-American candidate, and he's staying at Clemson. What's that about his character and how he wants to get better and stay here?
Well, number one, RJ, unbelievable player, unbelievable character, like you said. But he's a playmaker, and when he's in the game, things happen. He makes interceptions. He's just always around the ball. So, he's going to be, a starter. He'll be in that starting rotation, just like he was last year. I mean, he started 7 games last year. There were 2 games he was unavailable that he couldn't start, but he started a lot of games here for Clemson. If you go back 2 years ago, we got on the bus. Tyler got sick and couldn't go to the Louisville game, and RJ ends up having to start that game at the dime position. And if you go back to the goal line stand that we had, he made 3 of the 4 plays on the goal line. The guy's just a winner and a playmaker, and having him on the field, man, I have an extreme comfort level with him. And the thing about RJ, he's really, really smart. He could play anywhere. He could play both linebackers, both safeties, and the nickel. I mean, he's extremely intelligent. He just has a great feel for the game. But for his off season, the biggest thing for him was to improve on speed and change of direction. And he's done that, man. He is running really well right now. So, I'm excited. That's going to help him with his man-to-man and that sort of thing. But
Nicky,
love that guy.
you talked about this crazy world of college football. How much harder, and you guys are about the right things, how much harder is it to find those guys who are about the right things when, there's so much made of, well, you can get this in NIL, and you can do this here, and you don't like it, you can go somewhere else.
Y'all probably know the stats better than I do, but how many high school football players are there out there in the world? There's a ton of high school kids that can play football. And a lot of these guys, they go to the 247 or rival camps, they go to these things, and a lot of people don't go. And those that don't go are the ones that we got to dig and watch film, and we got to find. And the ones that do go, we got to cipher through the ones that buy into the hype and the ones that don't. And that's what makes a great Clemson player. So, I mean, you take a guy like Isaiah Simmons, a guy like Kayvon Wallace that we didn't even know about until January of their senior year coming out, and look what they did here, look what they're doing at the next level. A guy like Nolan Turner. I mean, there's a lot of football players out there, and we have to be extremely picky and choosy with who we get and who we take, and their family dynamic, their personality, and who they are, and what their high school coach says about them. It means a great deal to us at Clemson, and that's how we get the Jalen Phillips of the world, or the R.J. Mickens of the world, or the Andrew McCubas, and those guys. Khalil Barnes. Here's a guy that he wasn't on a whole lot of people's radar until we offered him. You know what I'm saying? But I spent a lot of time with the high school coach, because I know the high school coach because he was one of my assistants. But you got to make those relationships and develop those relationships with the high school coach, so that you can get the nuts and bolts and get the truth on these players. So that you don't get just a great athlete, but you get the whole player.
Does it make it harder in this world when you see maybe some other programs saying, well, we're taking these 3 5-stars, and yet maybe they wouldn't fit in here at Clemson?
Yeah, I think it's the tortoise and the hare. I mean, steady wins the race, and those guys that are steady and are about the right things, those are the ones that's going to win for you in the long run. The short term don't equal the long term, and it is, Hebrews 12:1-2 talks about let us run the race with endurance, and that's, it's football is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and sometimes the sprint's easy, sometimes, but you got to, if you want to win and you want to have a successful program like Dabo has built here, then you got to be for the long term. You got to get the right people, and that's why we don't offer until guys are into their junior year, because we want the right people and the right fit. We want a guy that's willing to come to camp, prove himself. That's important.
Tyler Venables, after the Orange Bowl, I asked him, when he had dealt with a lot of injuries, I said, "Are you coming back?" And he kind of looked at me and said, "What else am I going to do? What's it like to have a football lifer a coach back there for you?
I love it. You know, we talk about football players having a dog mentality. I mean, that's who Tyler Venables is. I mean, he's got a dog-like mentality. He brings intensity, just like his dad. I mean, he brings that same intensity to the meeting room, to the practice field. You know, sometimes you have to say, you know, whoa instead of go with him, just to get him to calm down a little bit. But he is, but I love it. I love it. I love having him, and I love the fact, you know, I love the way he is working with our young players, and coaching those guys up on what they need to do, where they need to be. You know, it helps really all with the experience I got with Tyler, RJ, Kuba, and Jalen. I mean, all four of those guys have been coaches on the field and in the meeting room. It's been really good.
I missed the beginning, so excuse me if I'm rehashing something. What are some of the points of emphasis over the summer that you're trying to take into the fall with you guys on the back end?
I think always the biggest thing is to learn the defense. You know, study the opponent. I think let's go all the way back to the spring. Let's start right there and let's look at, you know, what we did well and what we need to improve on. Let's go back to last season and the things that we need to improve on. Let's take those weaknesses and make them our strengths.
And then whether it be something like, you know, pass plays over 20 yards or red zone, is there a metric that you're going to really hope to see show up that means you guys are playing well?
Well, I think, you know, the bottom line is to keep them out of the end zone. So preventing those big plays, because that makes a huge difference. Preventing those big plays, improving on our technique is huge. And each week, you know, I wouldn't put necessarily a number on it. I don't know how many plays will be out there on the field, but to keep it to a minimal, you know, is huge. And to improve our pass defense is a big metric that we got to do. And that starts with us as safeties, making the calls, getting everybody in the right place. I think that's the biggest thing. And then making competitive plays on the ball. When the ball's in the air, we need to make plays on it.
And then the spring game, looked like you guys are having maybe the most fun of the spring game. What's the significance of making sure your guys are having fun playing the game?
Well, I think confidence is the biggest thing. You know, bringing that arrogance and bringing that confidence to the field. You got to have a short-term memory back there as a safety, as a DB, and you got to go to the next play. You know, there's going to be times where maybe you do give up a pass. And, hey, Fido, forget it and drive on. Let's go. Let's move on to the next play and let's make a play. Let's find a way to make a play. Let's find a way to win the game. And that's what Khalil Barnes did. You know, he goes into the spring game. They needed to play with 2 minutes to go in the ball game, and he gets a pick six to win the game. You know, and those are the things. That's the mindset that I want those safeties to play with. That kind of arrogance, that kind of confidence. You know, kind of like a shortstop or an infielder or however in baseball. I want the ball hit to me. You know, I want the ball thrown to my guy so that I can make the play to win the game. That's how we've got to think. And it's my job as a coach to make them think that way.
Is that confidence shaken a little bit in the last,
I think so.
Two of the last 3 games? I mean, and do they come to the spring with a different mentality, a more willingness to listen and learn something?
I do. I think so. And I think as a coach, I had to do a lot of improvement and come up with some new techniques, you know, to help them. So spent a lot of time this offseason, you know, really grinding and finding out what other people are doing, you know, technique-wise to help our guys to gain that confidence. And I saw great improvement as we installed some of those techniques with the guys. I saw them playing a lot better with their man coverage, a lot better in their zones with their eyes, you know, really honing in on their skills. So hopefully that'll carry over, but definitely.
Where do you want to see him take a next step? Where would you like to see him go to another level?
I think it's confidence with him. You know, he's got all the skill in the world. He's got to trust his ability and just have that confidence that, hey, I can do this. The same confidence he had as a freshman when he didn't have anything to lose. You know, it's a little different, you know, when when nobody knows about you and you're just going out there free to where the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and we're talking about playing your corner. We're talking about playing at safety, nickel, dime, and all these things. And I think he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. And, you know, we're going to take that weight off of him. And I think guys like RJ and JP and Nate Wiggins, and Sheridan Jones, and those guys, are a big help, because now he can focus in on what he needs to do at his position and get really good at what he needs to do. Confidence is the biggest thing for him, and I saw a lot of growth in that this spring.
Tell me about Tyler Venable, what you've seen from him, and just how different last year was for him, adjusting to a lot of things that weren't necessarily related to football, whether it was family issues or injury issues, different things, just kind of getting him back on track.
Yeah, I think he's had a great off season, but that's pretty stressful when your whole family moves away. Your dad, all of a sudden, he goes from being your coach to being the head coach at Oklahoma, and you're staying here. I think that's your mom goes to Oklahoma. Your two sisters. Now his brother did stay, so he had some continuity with his brother Jake, but he's a winner in every sense of the word, and he's got a lot of fire in him, and really love that kid. He's been through a lot of adversity, but at the same time, God gives us mountaintop experiences. He gives us valleys that we have to walk through and come out of, and he's been through more valleys than mountaintop experiences, but his work ethic, man, he's going to come out on top, because mentally he's ready for the grind, and he's been able to overcome a lot of obstacles.
What's it like having your son around the program, watching Dabo do it, and watching do it, and your son's around the program?
Yeah,
part of it.
Yeah, I'm excited for Brody. He's come in now. He's had to deal with some injuries as well. He had 2 shoulder surgeries, and really focusing this year on punting and long snapping. But just having him around is awesome. I just love seeing him. He had a 4.0, and his academics has been great, and he just works really, really hard. And it's hard for a walk-on kid, especially one in 2 sports that's having to trying to do both. But with adversity, comes triumph at the end if you work through it. And just enjoying watching him walk through it.
Working with Wes, in what ways have you seen him grow ahead of year number 2?
Say it again.
Working with Wes Goodwin, in what ways have you seen him grow ahead of year 2?
Well, I think with Wes, experience. You're talking about a guy who had not even been a position coach, and now all of a sudden he's calling the plays. He's having to deal with guys, within his staff that are all older than him, and I think he's done great. I think he's matured quite a bit as a leader with our defense. I think he's gotten a lot more confidence with experience, just like the players. We replaced a whole back 7 last year. There's nothing like experience, and now he's got a year under his belt calling the plays. He's gone back and, man, that was a dumb call, or man, that was a good call. He's been able to self-evaluate himself. So that's always good when you get that experience. Tink will start out with Mike.
Okay. You've got 4 established guys behind you guys. You've got Sherrod, Kylan, and Leo. Just kind of what you saw in them in the spring, it seems like you got some competition there for kind of the next guy.
I think those guys are very fortunate, to have guys in front of them to see what it looks like, because in this day and age, people are leaving so quick when they don't get their way, and it speaks a lot of them staying on and really growing and buying into the Clemson program and maturing. But let's start with Sherrod. Here's a guy that has, he has all the athletic talent in the world. He can run, change direction, he's physical. Just really needed to learn the defense. When you get to this level, we do so many different things. We don't just run cover 2, cover 3, and cover 0. There's just a lot of elements involved in it. And he has grown and learned. So I'm expecting big strides from him this year. Kylan Griffin, extremely intelligent. Man, he's a student of the game. He's like an R.J. Mickens who can play multiple things back there. Mentally, he gets it and understands it. And physically, he's got the tools. And then Khalil Barnes, man, I just love his confidence and the way he plays. You saw him this spring. Man, you saw in that spring game at PBU, you saw a TFL, you saw a big hit, you saw an interception to win the game. I mean, you see the makings of a star, you know, right there with him. You know, what y'all don't see is what he did in the film room to learn and do all those things, which is what makes a Clemson defender so good. You know, those guys, because we do so much, and we are so multiple defensively. You know, if you don't study, you're going to be way behind. And he's a guy that came in the spring. You know, these guys, they sacrificed their senior year, but you know, it made a big difference for him because he came in and took advantage of that time. So I'm looking for big things from him.
So you just risk Kylan, probably somebody's got to build his body a little bit.
Webb, yeah. So Colin Webb, he came in and had to have surgery immediately on his wrist. He didn't even get to play his senior year. So he's still got a lot of growth to go. But man, you're talking about long and rangy and can run and is physical and is willing. I mean, he's a guy that is extremely willing and can really run and go make plays. You know, he just needs to get more experience. And then Rob Billings, he just showed up a month ago. So, you know, and one guy we hadn't really talked about is Bubba McAtee. I think, you know, he's a guy that, man, he's 6'3" safety that he can run, hit. You know, he's a walk-on football player. And he's really good. He's a really good player, and he's a guy that, you know, can help us add depth and help us on special teams.
Is there, you talk about Makuba and the confidence and everything, is there, when he reports and he got the weigh in, what did you guys want him to do with his body, I guess?
Well, the big thing was to gain weight. I wanted him 190 plus. I'm trying to get to 195, big weigh-in day. Right now he's 192, 193. So he's close because naturally you're going to lose some weight when we come into the summer. He needs to keep his weight above 190. You know, with the pounding you take in this league, you know, having a guy like, having the depth that we have helps so you don't have to play every play and beat him to death. But having that weight definitely going to help him.
Talking to some of the other coaches over there, they did some professional development this spring or over the summer where they met with other coaches. Did you do something like that?
Oh yeah, we all met with different coaches from different places, been on the phone with different coaches from different places, and podcasts, just watching things, you know, just watching speakers and learning and growing. You know, we're no different than the players, man. We got to learn and we got to grow and we got to keep with the times and the new techniques and the things that's out there. We got to stay sharp as coaches and doing our professional development.
Problem for me is it's always like the story behind the story. Is there anything that we haven't asked that has happened over the summer on the recruiting throughout the spring? That's, you know, a story that you like, man, if everybody just knew this.
Well, I think I hadn't asked me this, but I think that the off season is the most important. Is the most important thing for a football team, and the weight room, and what Coach Batson and his crew, D Love and those guys, Coach Greenlee, man, they've been phenomenal in the weight room. These guys, but the kids have to buy into it, and I think you probably hear Coach talk about it during his session. Accountability has been the biggest improvement. Guys being accountable in the weight room, being accountable in the classroom, all those things make a difference in the long run. You know, you're talking about character. It's all those little things that make a difference in the big picture. And I think that's been the biggest difference, man. The way they've come. Man, these guys get up early in the morning to get these workouts in, so then they can catch their early morning classes. I mean, and I'm talking since January until now. These guys have been working their tails off, and there's not been any distractions really. It's been focused on what they got to do to get better. And to me, that's, you know, being an old high school coach, you know, that's where you got to develop those guys is in that weight room. You know, they say live modern, train old. I think that's our mantra here. That's what I've seen.